If I may, so we may want to invite Amy Cox to respond to Commissioner Edwards' questions and comments. We can move on. I don't know if she's prepared to do so. She is. She just brought herself on camera, but she's probably best acquainted with what you see in line 31 of the POP list and can kind of respond, Commissioner, to your encouragement in this realm.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
Sure, I'm happy to do so. Thank you, Director Cannon, and thank you, Commissioner Edwards. For the record, my name is Amy Cox, and I'm the Director of Research and Data at the agency. I appreciate your question very much, Commissioner Edwards. We've focused this POP on, I have sort of a two-part answer. We've focused this POP on trying to get some of the operational capacity in the office expanded so that we can focus more of our staff time on the actual research and reporting, because the operational pieces are so labor intensive and time consuming. So trying to integrate and automate the work that we do and have expanded over the years. In addition, the second part of this is really that we have had staff vacancies, as Director Cannon alluded to at the very, very beginning of today's meeting, more agency-wide. And have had some challenges in filling those. But as we have been filling those, sort of seeing the end on the horizon now, we have expanded some of our own internal capacity for more complicated analyses than we've been able to undertake previously. And so I'm really looking forward to the coming year when we'll be able to build on those talents. That said, the POP itself is focused much more on the operational capacity and the comprehensive, or how comprehensive or not our data are. There are significant gaps in what we collect. And I'd be happy to talk further about whether we should consider expanding the POP to include more analytic capacity as well.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Henry.
Thank you so much, Chair Cross. First, I don't want to repeat yesterday's, but I'm grateful that we'll have an expanded conversation on the structure and funding for student financial assistance. Let's track that. I think the one thing that I saw that I know you don't want anything added, but I'm going to. I think we should anticipate funding requests POP for establishing post-secondary education for adults in custody. And I know there's conversation going on already, and there's a great opportunity there. And I just want to, at some point, I think we need to think about where that's going to fit.
Commissioner Provosti.
Thank you. I'm wondering also, as we think about how these things live together, when I look at the aspect of the portal, which we've talked about for so long on the commission, and really creating those synergies and pathways for students to navigate the system, how does that intertwine with the data that we're trying to collect? And will the systems be able to talk to each other and build upon each other for the rich data sets that we're often saying, hey, Amy, what do you got for us? How can we do that now as we think about it versus we purchase this and we purchase that and then they don't talk to each other the way we hope they would? Are we thinking about that at this time, Amy?
Commissioner Probowski, thank you very much for, Commissioner Ayers-Probowski, thank you very much for that question. And I do apologize for my work at home attire. I was not expecting to be on camera. This POP is designed to build on the systems we have rather than trying to build something entirely new. That kind of undertaking, I think, to build some, not that you're suggesting this, but we rejected the idea of building an entirely new comprehensive system that would work across all post-secondary education and training because we believe it it wastes the resources that we have in-house, both in terms of the data and in terms of the underlying systems. But what we lack is exactly what you're saying, is a way to work across these systems in an efficient manner. So currently staff undertake relatively archaic and Herculean efforts to move very, very large volumes of data across many different servers. It's kind of like if you had 5 laptops and you were trying to write a single paper across 5 different computers. It's not that, but it's not a bad metaphor. It's just really inefficient. You know, it's just really inefficient. You'd have to email text to yourself across the different laptops if they didn't Bluetooth, and that's what this POP is designed to overcome, is to create an integrated space where the existing systems can feed into, as well as expand the areas where we lack data. And in order to be able to engage in more of the affordability and analytic reporting that we would really like to do long term. I think that there are specifics in this POP that would need to be fleshed out. It involves certainly some additional support from our IT department, but there are a number of ways in which we would welcome your input, as well as would be working in the coming months to really get even more specific about what we've written, of course, a few pages on this already, but and have plans in place, but would welcome your input to any of these pieces.
Is this something like the envision of what we did with Cognos, where it pulls in from Banner and it makes something that's much more legible and user friendly, but it would be robust and pulling in from different data sets to be able to maybe even enhance or to create something that could go into a higher level and really allow for some of the performances that you're hoping for on this state level? Because there's so many different types of systems out there that the language at some point will have to be translated, so it's a common language. Is this what you're thinking, Amy?
It's similar, yes, but I would say on another level up. So while the universities, for example, all use Banner, the community colleges, some use Banner, there are 5 different student reporting systems, and we have those already integrated into a common format and data system within the HECC, but the community colleges and the public universities are only part of what we work with. In the last few years, we've begun to receive student level records from some of our private alliance partners, for example, the private degree granting institutions. We have a data collection of our private career schools that has really suffered from sort of a lack of efficiency and quality on our side, not disparaging any of our partners. And we have an entire suite of workforce training programs that are all in their own different systems as well. So now, and of course, we have the rich data in our Office of Student Access and Completion that we draw on for affordability measures. So now we're talking, almost double digits really in terms of different systems, and it's working across those that we're sort of maxed out on capacity wise. And there's a few approaches to this. One is just to add more staff, but you're still working, like I said, sort of writing one paper across maybe 5 or 6 laptops. And another approach is to sort of start from scratch. And we believe really the best approach is to build on the work that we've already undertaken with our IT department to expand our data collections and the modernization projects and the FAMIS replacement, and instead to build on those investments and create and work with what we currently have to integrate it in a way that the staff can free up really staff time so that we can make use of the data we have more fully.
Thank you so much for all of that. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Thank you. I have two questions that may be actually one question. We have, I think, work before us and opportunity before us with the connecting the community college funding formula, particularly as we consider any addition or adjustment of outcomes-based formula or incentive component of that, and the Future Ready Oregon work. And those two things come together in my head because I think one provides some opportunities for the other, particularly filling the education to work gap that we heard about at the summit. And I was trying to think on your list, where do the opportunities lie here? Do we spread that kind of thinking out amongst several different pops? Or is there a separate place to put it?
I can take a stab at the Future Ready Oregon part of it, and maybe I'll have Jim address the funding formula part of the question. Future Ready Oregon, we were fortunate to receive about $200 million in resources. That was not just for the current biennium. It expands across the current biennium, and those resources actually go and can be expended. I think it's now until 2026. And so we know that a lot of the activities, particularly the workforce readiness grants and things like that, are pretty well supported for the near term by ARPA funding. And so and we have built in a couple of parts of it, particularly the career pathways and the industry consortia, and made those permanent parts of our continuing service level budget. And so some of it already has a plan to continue, and we have kind of medium term plans to continue other parts of it with federal funding. And then the rest of it, you kind of see in that last section. We had numerous Future Ready Oregon packages that were on the list that kind of came off the list when it got funded. And so we know that there will be certain aspects of that we need to ask for continuing funding and additional POPs for, but those are more routine type POPs. They're continuations as opposed to new programs. So I think we feel like we have bitten off enough to chew in the near term with Future Ready Oregon and all that we have to do in the next several years. And we're going to be paying attention to that, but it's kind of not a immediate need. And then I'll pass it to
Just slide over here to join my colleagues at the table. Again, for the record, Jim Pinker, Co-Secretary of Finance and Capital. I think, Mr. Cross, to your question, POP 14 is a continued POP. Every cycle, we do have that as part of the POP request list. And so as we engage in the next 12 to 18 months in a review of the community college formula, I think our vision is to have that conversation between now and perhaps next spring. Ideally in next spring of 2023, bringing some ideas in front of the commission for your consideration. We have to submit this ARB by this August, so it won't be in time for that. But I can suggest that whatever comes out of that formula review conversation, we could consider going forward how that may impact the magnitude of funding we do request from the state. That likely won't be though for 23-25. That'll likely be for the following biennium.
Okay. Right. I think the more we can use that process to leverage resources for the community colleges, the easier that conversation is going to be. And that there, as I said, I think there's some opportunities because of these two things happening at the same time. So, thanks, Jim. Any other questions or comments? Ben, any closing?
No, I guess I would invite commissioners as you review this list and have perhaps additional conversations over the next several weeks. Feel free to reach back to me, to Ramona, to Tom, any of us, certainly me, and I can make sure it gets to the right place with ideas, suggestions. I mean, we are in the idea generation phase, as Ramona and Tom described, over the next few weeks. Really about the next 2 months, our staff will be engaging pretty intensively with partners in the refinement of these concepts, but ultimately they are yours to decide and move forward. So ensuring that you have the answers to the questions that you have, and that you are comfortable with the direction that we're headed is important. We'll share more about where we're at in those partner conversations and in our internal staff thinking at the May and June meetings. But by June, you will see a list that has dollars attached to these and is, if not final, getting pretty close, because that month we'll be actually submitting this through a budget system that the Department of Administrative Services requires us to use, and then by August, you're giving your final approval. So again, there's a fairly short timeline for us to be not only engaging you, but engaging community members, engaging institutional and other partners. So we welcome your feedback even in between these meetings.
And I think that I would say that while we'll have some more specific conversations on a couple of topics, namely the support on the capital project, the financial aid projects, those are going to be coming back to this group to really ask the same question again. What parameters would you want us to use in terms of what to shape these packages, and the other ones, for the most part, if you have specific ideas about goals that you want to pursue for individual packages, let me know, and I can hook you up with probably the main author of it, so that they know what your feedback is specifically, and we can make sure that that gets included in any of these individual packages.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hanging in there through the whole day and your flexibility. Are we for any further business to come before the commission?
Mr. Chair, just say, based on our conversation earlier today, we are likely to be inviting commissioners and guests back to this space for our May meeting with, again, remote options for those who need to or would prefer to participate remotely.
All right, I use the prerogative of the chair to declare the meeting adjourned.
Well,
I know, super exciting.
I was surprised
I'll have to get used to like waking up this time.
it's, I've only been a part of it for a year, so I've not worked in front of it.
I know, it's so.
I'm still getting
It's a relearning process for this, this felt so normal 2 years ago. You know, kind of strange, especially with.
I have no idea, but let me come to you.
Everybody's wired. You gotta.
Thank you.
Thank you.